All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Touchdown Glass podcast. I am your host, Michael V. Jones, and here at the Touchdown Glass, we are keeping it 100% real. No crazy hot takes or agendas, just good old fashioned football talk the way you like it. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in. All right, so No Shave November continues. Things are getting a little thick around here, right? Right? College football, right? Uh, we're going to start determining playoffs here soon. I mean, who's in, who's out. And this is going to be, I believe, a 12-team playoff. So this is something new and exciting. It's going to be fun. Uh, NBA's, it's up and going. What is it? Cleveland, I think, just had the Cleveland Cavs just had their first loss. So, uh, Browns fans up in Northeast Ohio, it's been a rough football season, but they got the Cavs to turn to. Um, and yeah, as Thanksgiving approaches, how crazy is that? And of course, everyone has all ther Christmas stuff out, So we're just in this crazy time of year, and what better way, right? What better way than to just take a break from the craziness and talk about the craziness of the NFL. All right, so why don't we just jump right into what happened in Week 11, and we start on Thursday Night Football, where the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Washington Commanders 26-18. So Washington actually had the lead into the fourth quarter, and then it just kind of seemed like Philadelphia was able to take over the game. 228 yards on the ground for the Eagles, and 146 of those were courtesy of Saquon Barkley. He also found the end zone twice. Hurts uh, was 18 to 28, 221 yards, one rushing touchdown. Jaden Daniels for the Commanders was 22 of 32, 191 yards, one touchdown, one pick. So, a lot of people that kind of said, all right, who is the top dog in the NFC East? I mean, it really, oh, I was thinking, why Philly was they were winning but didn't really have their act together. I was thinking, all right, this Washington team is looking like a buzzsaw. They've cooled off a little bit. They're still really good, but the Eagles, I think, just have too many playmakers and some experience. And these guys have been playing. When you think about it, Hurts, Goddard, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith have been playing together for a long time. And then you add a Saquon Barkley to an already very good offensive line. Yeah, so the Eagles are just that team at 8-2. They can overcome some bad coaching because they have so much talent. Washington still very much improved, 7-4. I think definitely a playoff team. All right, Sunday's games: the Los Angeles Rams defeat the New England Patriots 28-22. Rams go to 5-5 in a very, very tight NFC West, so they're keeping pace with the other teams and that are just a hair behind the Arizona Cardinals. Patriots drop 2-3-8. So Stafford, when he has his weapons, it makes a difference. He threw for 295 yards, four touchdowns. Puka Nakua, seven receptions, 123 yards, one touchdown. Cooper Kupp, six receptions, 106 yards, two TDs. See what a difference that makes when when you give a quarterback things to work with. And Drake May, again, having a really nice rookie season. 29 of 39, 282 yards, two touchdowns, one pick. Patriots have found their quarterback going forward, because not only does he, are doing good things, he looks the part. It's you don't get those Mac Jones vibes. So New England, yeah, it's going to be a rough season, but at least you have that position taken care of. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens. This is 18-16. This obviously is the greatest rivalry, in my opinion, of the 21st century. It's a great division rivalry. They've met in the playoffs, I think, a couple of times. It's just good, tough football by both these teams. And This is a game, another close game that Pittsburgh was able to pull off pretty much because the Ravens, a few things. The Steelers didn't find the end zone. They had six field goals by Boswell, but they lost the turnover battle 3-1 to the Steelers. And Justin Tucker, he just continues to struggle. It's really a head scratcher. He missed two field goals, and when you look at the score, that's the difference in the game. So Lamar Jackson, 207 yards, one TD, one pick. Russell Wilson, 205 yards, one interception. Um, Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 65 yards and a TD, and George Pickens on the Steelers side of things, he had 8 receptions for 89 yards. So this is very big because the Ravens at 7-4. What is this now? A game and a half with the Pittsburgh having the advantage of the win. Obviously, Pittsburgh will have to go to Baltimore, and that could be huge. But the Ravens, who we've kind of after a slow start felt like was a juggernaut, now they're going to really have to be on their P's and Q's because this AFC is tough, competitive, and you can't slip down the stretch, or you're going to be on the outside looking in when the playoffs come around. All right, the Indianapolis Colts defeat the New York Football Jets 28-27. So Indy goes to 5-6. The Jets fall to 3-8, and obviously they fired their GM. We will talk about that. Anthony Richardson. Okay, so this is what you want to see: 272 yards, one touchdown, 32 rushes, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner with 46 seconds left. Josh Downs for the Colts had 5 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 29, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Breece Hall, 78 yards on the ground, and he added a touchdown. So it's not necessarily that the Jets played god awful, but Anthony Richardson, he came and he balled out, and people are like, oh my gosh, why does Anthony Richards now, he looks like maybe Nathan Peterman one moment. Now he's like the second coming of Cam Newton, and that's what Anthony Richardson is, right? We know he's that type of athlete. He has these type of capabilities, right? He just could not find any consistency. But if he does find a little consistency, this is what it can look like. So maybe that benching, in retrospect, is going to help him going forward. We'll see. It's one game, but for Colts fans, I think that shows some promise. Jets fans, yeah, it's what are they saying now? Everybody on the shows, JETS, Mets. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But anyway, we'll talk about the Joe Douglas firing later. Miami Dolphins defeat those Las Vegas Raiders 34-19. So Dolphins now at 4-6. The Raiders dropped to 2-8. Tua Tagovailoa, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them to tight end Jonnu Smith, who had 101 yards on 6 grabs. Devon Achane, 73 yards rushing and a touchdown. And for the Raiders, you should be encouraged. Rookie tight end Brock Bowers, monster game, 13 receptions, 126 yards, and a touchdown. So we know the Raiders are abysmal. We know there's probably more changes coming next season. But for the Dolphins, a lot of people believe, okay, they have Tua back. Can they keep him healthy? And can they stack? They have a pretty winnable, a schedule with some winnable games. Can they stack these wins and enter back into the playoff picture? I think there's a good chance that they could. I really do. They keep playing like this, that's for sure. All right, the Green Bay Packers just break the Chicago Bears' heart, 20-19 at Soldier Field. Oh my gosh! I mean, the Bears were going to win this game. Jordan Love, 13-17, 261 yards, a touchdown, and interception. He also added a rushing touchdown. On the other side, Caleb Williams, 23 of 31 for 230. 161 yards. He also had 9 rushes for 70 yards. So he's a big factor in this game. Stop saying Caleb's a bust. Stop. It's ridiculous. Yes, he's the number 1 overall pick. Yes, he was hyped. All right. Let's take that out of the equation. He's doing some good things if you watch the tape, and he was about to never have to buy a drink in Chicago again had had Cairo Santos field goal not been blocked. Um, Cairo Santos hit a 50-plus yarder earlier in the game. He kicked it really low, and you got to give credit to the Green Bay Packers coaching staff, the special team staff, for saying, all right, he's going to kick this ball low again. And that's when they were able to block that field goal. So good on the Packers special teams, bad on the Bears special teams. Josh Jacobs for the Packers, he had 76 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Christian Watson, 4 receptions, 150 yards, and Swift for the Bears had 71 yards and a touchdown. So this was actually a really good game. And the Bears, what are they going to have to do to beat the Packers? Who's firstborn child do they have to to give up? It's ridiculous. It's head scratching. And see, here's the thing about Caleb, right? He that Hail Mary doesn't happen in Washington. That you can even say that fumble they don't hand it to an offensive lineman and he fumbles. I mean, they put that game away and there's no need for the Hail Mary, right? Certain things don't have, if this kicker makes this field goal, we're having a totally different conversation about Caleb. These are stupid things that are out of his control. Now, yes, there's been inconsistency. There's things he holds on to the ball sometimes too long. Those are things, and he's got to mature a little more. Those are things I think that are going to be corrected. But you got to stop with this bus talk. I mean, we're just, from fluky things not happening, we're having a totally different conversation about Caleb Williams, and maybe he's in the Rookie of the Year conversation. So everyone else, stop it, Bears fans. I know it's a rough year, but relax. You have your quarterback. All right, the New Orleans Saints beat the Cleveland Browns. This is a really weird game, 35-14. So the Saints, remember, they started 2-0. Then they dropped 7 in a row. They fired Dennis Allen. Now they've won 2. So they go to 4-7. Derek Carr, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marquez Valdez-Scantling with 2 receptions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. But really, the story of this game was Taysom Hill, 7 carries, 138 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Because when you look at the Browns won the 2 turnover battle. The Saints turned it over twice. The Browns did not. So this game was actually tied in the fourth quarter. Jameis Winston, solid game, 30 for 46, 395 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. And Jerry Jeudy, 6 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. So it's just one of those, when you look at the box score, it's kind of weird. But Taysom Hill just took over the game. I think that's really what it comes down to. All right, the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Tennessee Titans 23-13. So, 2 teams going in two totally different directions. The Vikings at 8-2, the Titans at 2-8. Darnold, better game, 246 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 6 receptions for 81 yards. But Will Levis, 17-31, but 295 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Nick Westbrook Ikhine, 2 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. So that's probably where most of the yards came from, throwing to him. But here's the problem with the Titans. Tony Pollard was coming back off injury. Will Levis was their leading rusher, 7 carries for 18 yards. Yeah, that's not going to get it done, especially against a good team like the Vikings. All right, the Detroit Lions, they just look like the best team in the NFL, most complete team. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, you think such a devastating loss, and it could prove to be that as they start to play better teams in the playoffs, but they just haven't missed a beat. Their defense is gotten better. Uh, they go to 9-1. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 52-6. Jacksonville goes to 2-9. So Mac Jones, 7 points last week for that team, 6 points this week. Yeah, he doesn't even look good. It's not even working out for him as a backup. He's got better competition now, though. Of course, playing playing Vikings and then Lions back to back. That's a tough road when you have a roster like Jacks or yeah, when you have a team like Jacksonville and they're having the kind of season they're having. The Lions, 645 total yards in this game. Jared Goff, 412 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 receptions, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery with 75 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Just they got playmakers all over the place. The Lions, it just doesn't seem fair. And who would have? But good for the Lions fan because it's more than fair the suffering that they've been through. Good for them. They are having one hell of a run. All right. The Seattle Seahawks beat the San Francisco 49ers 20-17. Both teams at 5-5. Uh, Geno Smith, 25 of 32, 221 yards, an interception, but he had the game-winning rushing touchdown with 12 seconds left. A big big moment for Geno there, who's had a very up and down year. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 receptions for 110 yards. Brock Purdy, 21 of 28, 159 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Jawan Jennings, nice game from him, 10 receptions, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. So again, this incredibly tight incredibly tight NFC West. Who's going to break through? The Cardinals at 6-4. The bottom three teams 5-5, and this is not good for San Francisco because I believe they've only had one division win was against Seattle. So they've split with Seattle, they've lost to Arizona, they've lost to the Rams. So these, when they play the Cardinals and the Rams again, that is going to be key for the 49ers. I think if they're going to have a shot at making the playoffs. Who would have thought we would have said that at the beginning of the year? All right, the Denver Broncos just absolutely demolished the Atlanta Falcons 38-6. So both teams at 6-5. Remember, I said, okay, Younghoe Koo, he struggled the previous week against the Saints. Now he's going to kick field goals at Denver. Well, he made 2, and that was Denver's only points. Kirk Cousins, 18 of 27, 173 yards passing and a pick. Michael Penix Jr. actually got some playing time for the Falcons in this one. Bo Nix, another quarterback. This rookie class, I'm telling you, between Jaden and Caleb and Nix and Drake May, it's been impressive so far. 28 of 33, 307 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Sean Payton, I think, has found his guy. It's just somebody that clicks with him, right? And Denver, after having to let go of Russell Wilson, and how is this going to affect the team's future and the cap and all, they might be making a push for the playoffs. It's pretty exciting, and that would be the first time in about a decade. All right, the Buffalo Bills knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. So Miami Dolphins, 1972. Pop your cork, pour your champagne. You, for another season, remain the NFL's only undefeated team. So the story of this is Josh Allen, right? 27 of 40, 262 yards passing, 1 touchdown and interception. But he also got it done on the ground, 12 carries, 55 yards, and that 26-yard touchdown run that just iced it on a 4th-and-2 play. Mahomes, pretty nice game. 23 of 33, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Now the final, the last interception was kind of like, desperation. So do what you, I'm not making excuses for Patrick Mahomes. He's a warrior, and he kept the team in the game. But the Chiefs, their defense still very good. Maybe there's been a little chink in the armor, and they might have to figure some things out. But this is huge because the Bills going into a bye week now, right? If they are able to finish a game better or just the same record as the Chiefs, they're going to get the home field advantage. Excuse me, for the AFC playoffs. And how big would that be for teams to have to go on the road to Orchard Park and those weather conditions to play the Bills when they can, hammer that ball with whether it's Josh Allen or James Cook. So this is a huge win for the Buffalo Bills. Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Los Angeles Chargers defeat the Cincinnati Bengals in a shootout, 34-27. So the Chargers 7-3, the Bengals 4-7, and again, it's those Chargers. I keep talking about them quietly. Look what they're doing, and unfortunately, the Bengals just a fun offense to watch. And look at these numbers: Burrow 356. And threw for like 4 touchdowns, I believe. T. Higgins, 9 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, but the problem was they got off to a slow start. They were kicking field goals. The Chargers, so Burrow would have thrown 3 touchdowns. The Chargers were scoring touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 297 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He was also the leading rusher with 5 carries at 65 yards. And Ladd McConkey, again, what a find he's been for them. 6 receptions for 123 yards. So the Bengals, it really just comes down to defense, I think, and it's just kind of funny. They have Trey Hendrickson. Their defensive end is the NFL leader in sacks, so they have that, and they have this incredible offense. You would think it would equal out to better than a 4-7 record, but it's just there's been some head scratchers this year, and that is probably definitely at the top of the list. All right, Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Houston Texans defeat the Dallas Cowboys 34-10. So the Texans go to 7-4, and the Cowboys go to 3-7. This game, the Cowboys had some opportunities in this game to really keep pace with the Texans and make it interesting going down the stretch. But it was just one disaster after another, whether it's, Cooper Rush, or I'm sorry, Brandon Aubrey slipping on, what would be a field goal he could make in his sleep, taking a field goal off the board and then having a turnover on downs, not opting for a field goal and getting a turnover on downs. That Cooper Rush double fumble where he got strip sacked. Tyler Guyton recovered. He gets hit, fumbles, and the Texans score. That was just kind of like summed up the type of season the Cowboys are having. And Rush, to his credit, 32 of 55. Yeah, when you don't have much of a running game, you have to drop back 55 times. That's not good. He did throw for 354 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Lamb, 8 receptions for 93 yards. For the Texans, Stroud went 23 of 34, 257 yards and a pick. But really, the story of this game was Joe Mixon, 20 carries, 109 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So if I didn't mention the Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, New York Football Giants, or Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's because they had their bye week. Okay, so let's get into the stories of the week. I don't have much. Obviously, with the New York Football Giants, we talked about Daniel Jones last week. He is going to be shut down for the rest of the season, so that way he doesn't get hurt. He's not owed any money. They're gonna just try to do a clean break. They're moving on from Daniel Jones. But the strange thing is, instead of opting to play Drew Lock, who they signed as a backup, is a really good backup, they've uh, opted to go with fan favorite Tommy DeVito, Tommy Chicken Cutlets, right? And I don't know the reasoning behind that, other than maybe you want to try to play, not tank, but play some of the guys that don't get as much playing time to keep yourself in the mix for that top draft pick. Because right now, if the draft were to start today, it'd be the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants, both, first and second, respectively. So are the Giants that much better than the Browns? Because the Giants beat the Browns, but they have the same record? I don't know. So that might be the strategy they are employing. But the Giants, again, just a messy organization, and I know they just want to. I don't know how they don't throw up watching the Eagles play every time Saquon Barkley is just carrying defenders on his back and making posters out of people, jumping backwards over them. It's Yeah, I'm sorry, Giants fans. That's got to be tough. Saquon was, even though your franchise, the football team hasn't been good, Saquon was kind of that face, right? We got that guy. At least, maybe he can make us some plays. And that's not there anymore. All right. Speaking of, I mean, all right, we could just stay at the Meadowlands. Joe Douglas out as GM of the the Jets. And Joe Douglas has a great resume in this league, and he's actually brought in some great players like Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. I mean, he received a lot of accolades for this team just being a quarterback away, right? Uh, Look at the pieces he brought in, the moves he made, the drafts, and but what can they do? What can they do? Because they bring in that quarterback, and they're firing coaches, demoting coaches, uh, trading guys, trading for guys, and it's resulted in 3-8 in an AFC East where the Patriots are obviously rebuilding. The Dolphins have been down most of the year, might be coming back up, and so really it's just the Bills. So there was at least an opportunity to probably make a push for a wild card spot, and that is long gone. Where do the Jets go from here? Who do they bring in? What's they've Aaron Rodgers has basically been the GM. They've just catered to any of his wants and desires, and that's not a way to run a football team. You know, at least when you had it was doing it with Tom Brady in Tampa. I don't think it was that messy. Yeah, you bring in a Gronk or somebody, but you he was still playing at the top of his game, for maybe those first couple years, and then by the third year it started to slip, and you got a Super Bowl out of it. And I think that's what the Jets were hoping. And yeah, um, I saw something funny. Where should Aaron Rodgers go next? And obviously retirement was an option, but Minnesota was one. And I'm thinking, wow, that would really be following the career path of Brett Favre, right? Obviously, he didn't start with the Falcons like Brett did. A lot of people don't know that, but Packers, Jets, Vikings, that would be crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Vikings know better that Aaron. Not that he's playing god awful, but he's not that Aaron Rodgers, and he's on his way out. All right. I do want to talk about something, and I'm going to try to do this without, I don't, I talk objectively, and not let my Cowboy fandom or the herd I'm going through the season, because I'm probably more apathetic than hurt at this point. But the Houston fans, there's just been trash talking all week, and I get it. There's some state bragging rights there, but this is what I'm hearing. The Houston Texans are the best pro football team in Texas. Right now they are. No, right now, yeah. How could you argue that? They have 5 playoff wins this century as opposed to the Cowboys for. All right, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me. Look at some of these playoff wins. Brock Osweiler beating Connor Cook, uh, TJ Yates beating Andy Dalton. It was maybe twice, right? And that, those Marvin Lewis Bengals who couldn't win a playoff game to save their life. So if the Cowboys are so pathetic, they're a joke. They can't be your measuring stick too. And that's why the Houston Texans are the Houston Texans. Now I feel better. I'd feel better about my future if I'm a Texans fan than a Cowboys fan. I'm not going to deny that. But this is what holds you back. Stupid, petty stuff like that. Like, Washington fans, and their stupid owner, Snyder, we're always worried about the Cowboys, worried about the Cowboys. Now look what they're worried about, playing good football. And look where they're headed, right? And Texans, yeah, you have a 7-4 record. You play in a division that is pure ass. All right. You should be playing much better. So, yes, you beat the Cowboys. Congratulations. It's a shitty Cowboys team, but a win is a win in the NFL. It's against a pro football team. Come on. Do you want the title? Do you want the title of best football team in Texas? Fine. If you want the title of the most annoying fans in Texas too, you want to take that away from the Cowboys? Be my guest. All right. Lastly, I'm hearing rumors now that Kyle Shanahan could be fired if the Niners don't make the playoffs. Please, whoever is starting these rumors, put down the crack pipe. Okay. That is ridiculous. A coach that's a great innovator on offense that has brought you to on the brink of two Super Bowl wins against you know, the dynasty of this decade, the Kansas City Chiefs. You're one play away last year. You got to stop a 4th and 2. You're Super Bowl champions. So that is just how Kyle Shanahan couldn't even walk a block. I mean, he could. You let him go, he wouldn't. He'd step right out the door and have another job in an instant. So that is stupid. And who would you replace him with? Now I hear rumors like maybe Mike Vrabel on the Browns staff that they move on from Kevin Stefanski. I think that'd be a mistake, but I would get that. Who is there on that San Francisco staff or out there that you're going to bring in that gets you over the hump? I hope that is just rumors because that's garbage. All right. So let's get to week 12's games. We start Thursday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. So this is okay, short week, division rivalry. We expect the Steelers to handle business. I think maybe you put some packages for Justin Fields, seeing this type of success Taysom Hill had against the Browns defense last week. I think that would be smart, right? And Jameis did a good job protecting the football last week. He's probably not going to do that week to week. So I think this favors the Steelers. But look for them maybe to get Fields a little involved in the mix on this one. All right. Sunday's games, Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have kind of cooled off a little bit. But I'm not sure. I mean, the morale in Dallas is just as bad as the football play right now. You got a lame duck coach. It just seemed like everything that could go wrong would go wrong for the Cowboys whenever there was a chance to really get back in the football game. It just kind of blew up in their face. So now they have to go on a road and again face a pretty good Washington team that's on 10 days rest and probably not happy with the way that they've been playing with themselves. So again, it's a division game, but I think just too many things obviously favor the Commanders here. All right, Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. So again, Texans, if you're that football team, take care of business against this Titans team, and I think you will. You're just too talented, better coached, and it should be no problem. You would like to see CJ Stroud play a little more consistent. I think that's what you want to see out of this game. All right, Kansas City Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. So you get gifted Kansas City. I mean, Carolina is coming off a bye, but after dropping a tough one to Buffalo, and there's no shame in that after going 9-0. Going on the road again, you get Carolina. So maybe you can. You showed some things offensively in that game. I think you should feel good about. But maybe you can get your offense going a little bit more. We'd like to see you, you know, blow the brakes off a team. I think that's what everyone wants to see from you guys. And here's a good opportunity to do that. All right, the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. So maybe not a gimme for Miami, considering the Patriots still kind of play pretty good defense, and Drake May, yeah, he can play. He's going to make some plays. May he make a rookie mistake? Sure, absolutely, but he's going to make some plays. So I think this will be a fun game to watch, and I think it could be pretty close. I really do. But it is New England going to Miami, and they always seem to kind of struggle with the heat there. Miami was always kind of a little bit of a challenge going on the road there, even during the Brady years. So, uh, yeah, I think odds are still in the Dolphins' favor. Detroit Lions at the Indianapolis Colts. So Indy had that great road win at the Meadowlands last week, and now they get a buzzsaw of a Detroit Lions football team. So, I think Indy can hang with them for a little while, but as soon as a mistake's made, as soon as there's a 3-and-out, Detroit just smells blood in the water, and that's all she wrote. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New York Football Giants. So both teams coming off byes. Obviously, Tampa has a losing streak of like 4 or 5 games, and you know the Giants are starting Tommy DeVito. So this should be a game that the Buccaneers can get things back on track and maybe re-enter the playoff picture. Um, yeah, that's really all I got to say about that one. All right, the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. So double Midwest accent game. Can the Bears, just can they? You know, win a game and make their fans feel good about something, right? I'm trying to tell you, you should feel good about the way Caleb's playing, but I get it. It's not resulting in winning when there's a lot of talent on this roster. For the Vikings, hot start, have cooled off a little bit, but have still kind of found ways to win. So I think this could actually be a very good football game. Again, division rivalry. It's at Chicago. The Bears, they really don't want to lose to the Packers and the Vikings back-to-back games at home. So I still think the Vikings probably the better team, definitely the better coach team. But man, can Caleb and that team, the Bears, have a moment and give their fans a moment because they need one. All right, the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think the Broncos, yeah, they just continue their winning ways here. They continue their winning ways. Again, division rivalry, sure, but the Raiders are a mess. And I like what Bo Nix is doing. I like how Sean Payton has this team playing. So, yeah, definitely like the Broncos here. Arizona Cardinals at Seattle Seahawks. So big NFC West divisional matchup. Looked like the Seahawks were going to just, after a hot start, going to slip out of things, but they get a win here. Man, how good is that going to look? I mean, they're going to be atop the division with the Cardinals at 6-5. So this is a huge game, and maybe it's a chance too for with some of these games that the other NFC West opponents have going on, a chance for the Cardinals to separate themselves, because the other another matchup we have this week is the San Francisco 49ers at the Green Bay Packers. So this is huge. Big for the Packers, but huge for the 49ers to try to keep pace, because if Arizona uh, beats the Seahawks, That's going to be tough, right? Because they're already down one to Arizona. They drop at Green Bay. I'm not, this game could go either way. It really could. I know George Kittle's banged up. He's going to play. The Packers, Jordan Love's been a little up and down. They've run the ball well with Josh Jacobs. They got a good defense. So it's going to be, this game's going to, I think, tell us some things about heading into those colder months. All right, Sunday Night Football. Dun 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 dun. Dun. Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. So Eagles on 10 days rest. They got playmakers, and now we see that the Rams look like with their playmakers back. So Philly, how good are you going on the road against a Rams team that's kind of found their mojo now? I think this could be, a lot of explosive plays in this one. I think maybe the difference might be the Philadelphia's ability to run the football, whether it's Hurts and Barkley and Gainwell, that big offensive line. I think that could be the difference maker, but they got to be smart. No bonehead coach moves by Sirianni, and they got to protect the football. Otherwise, I think this Rams offense is going to move the ball on that Philadelphia defense. All right, Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Harbaugh Bowl again. The Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is probably bigger for the Ravens. The Chargers are having a great season regardless of what happens in this game. But I think this is bigger for the Ravens here. And because they're 7-4, I believe the Chargers 7-3, if I'm not mistaken, or 7-4. I'm not sure, but I know I mentioned it earlier. I would feel better about the Chargers losing than I would the Ravens here. So the Ravens got, I would say, and the Chargers proved that they could be explosive against a bad defense like the Bengals. The Ravens defense isn't doing that. I know they should feel better about their performance in Pittsburgh, even though they didn't win. The Steelers didn't reach the end zone, and that was a road division game. So can the Chargers, have they found something offensively, or was that more bad Bengals defense? And can the Ravens, really force, get back to, lighting up the scoreboard and force Justin Herbert and that team to go, blow to blow with them. That's what I want to see. All right. So bye weeks, the Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, and New York Football Jets. Holy bye weeks, man. 6 teams on a bye before we head into Thanksgiving football. All right, that's all I got. Enjoy the games, everybody.